El rugido de los aficionados, el ritmo de las porras, la intensidad en la cancha. Esto es más que solo un partido de fútbol. Con DraftKings Sportsbook, esta es tu oportunidad de convertir cada jugada en una gran ganancia. Descarga la app de DraftKings Sportsbook y usa el código HEART. Ese es el código HEART para que los nuevos usuarios reciban $200 en bonus bets al instante cuando apuestes solo $5. En asociación con DraftKings, la corona es tuya. ¿Problemas con el juego? Llama al 1-800-GAMBLER. En Nueva York, llama al 877-8-HOPE-NY o envía un mensaje de texto con la palabra HOPE-NY al 467-369. En Connecticut, hay ayuda disponible para problemas con el juego. Llama al 888-789-7777 o visita ccpg.org. Juega responsablemente. En nombre de Boot Hill Casino and Resort, Kansas. Debe ser mayor de 21 años. La elegibilidad varía según la jurisdicción. No válido en Ontario. Pueden aplicarse cargos en Illinois. Las apuestas de bonos son de un solo uso. La apuesta no se incluye en las ganancias y caducan después de ser otorgadas. La oferta finaliza el 29 de septiembre 2025 a las 11:59 p.m. hora del este. Los términos en DraftKings.com/sportsbook/promos.
Oh, Camilla, where's that tampon?
Eavesdroppin.
Oh, Michelle.
Oh, Geordie.
Welcome, one and all. Welcome to Michelle. Welcome to Geordie, that's me. And welcome to all you bloody eavesdroppers.
Are you all sweltering in this summer hot heat?
That's if you're in the northern hemisphere, mind you. You might be a little bit chilly wickets on the southern side of the world. Who knows, Michelle?
Oh, look, Jen is freezing her little titties off.
She's got her leg warmers on. She's got her crocheted bra on.
She does. She's got all of that. Plus, she's got Bella, the lovely pussy, on her knee, like a knee rug.
Her pussy's now down to her knees.
Oh, my God.
Sorry.
Gone there
Oh,
already. God. No, she's got the heat on. So who doesn't like a sauna? I'm guilty of that.
Yeah.
When I'm cold, I whack up the heat. I like a sauna.
Thrusters on. You get it right up. You live in a very cold climate, though, Michelle.
I know, but everything's so overheated here. Look, this is why my complexion is not what it used to be. I go from hot and cold to cold and hot. It's terrible.
This is very entertaining for our listeners, especially our new ones. Welcome, new eavesdroppers. If you're new here, we do tend to go off on segues about the weather. We do tend to go off on segues about our appearance, which doesn't mean anything to you because you can't bloody see us. Soz.
No, but I do suggest if you want to know what we look like, go back a few episodes to the AI image. We look bloody great.
That's our best look ever. Listen, this week we're going to do something a little bit different, Michelle, aren't we? It's called a summer special, which might be confusing if it's winter for you, like we said earlier. Soz, again.
Yes, it's a summer special. It's a little revisit, rewind, re-looking at some faves.
Some faves? Well, actually, mine that I'm going to talk about today wasn't necessarily a fave. The reason why I chose this story from whenever episode it was, whenever it was. Sorry, I've forgotten.
God. This is what you get with eavesdropping.
It is just here. Hang on. I think it's number 6 is all I've got. I don't know what series it was, but it was number 6. It was called Pricks and Privacy. And the reason why I've chosen pricks today, Michelle, is because recently there was a news story where people were shoving hypodermics into other people at clubs and things. And it was current news. And this was the story that I talked about back in episode 6 of whichever season it was. And your story
is...
Who's the Daddy? It's from Who's the Daddy? Series 3, episode God Knows.
Episode God Knows. It's the one where you did the great Charles voice.
He's the king now, Michelle. You have to be very careful.
You can't mock the prince.
Camilla, no mocking of me. I'm the bloody king, for God's sake.
I know, and it was very good. Thanks. Very good. Almost as good as your Elon from weeks gone by.
No, Elon needs work. Elon needs work.
Elon needs work, okay. Camilla and Charles's love child.
Secret love child, or is he?
Real or fake? You decide.
So join us this week while we have a little bit of a time travel into the past, into 2 different pasts, in fact.
Yes.
And I can't wait to hear it myself because I've obviously forgotten what we talked about.
Me too.
And when it was.
And look, this summer mashup, I tell you, when you've got a brain as absolutely full of holes.
Crammed full, chock-a-block.
Well, it's full of holes.
Oh.
It's like a spaghetti strainer.
Like a bucket.
A colander. It just drains straight through. I don't remember anything. So this will be a summer mashup like new.
It'll be a surprise for us all. So sit back, crack a brown lemonade, and enjoy while we take you back in time. I'm clearly not the person that Michelle needs to talk to right now. So somebody dial in and talk to Michelle for hours at length about euphoria.
About
She needs a chat partner because I'm letting her down.
Or Ozark, which you also haven't watched.
I'm not watching that either.
Mind-blowing. Absolutely mind-blowing. And, of course, The Apprentice, which you also don't watch, and I'm upset. That's my guilty pleasure. You're fired.
I'm glad you've got so much time, Michelle, to watch all that TV.
I don't. It's just that I haven't been sleeping well, and when I don't sleep, I get up and I watch shit. And then there you go. Then I don't sleep. So there you go. Anyway. So, Georgette, what on earth are we talking about this week?
Well, we've been keeping our topics a surprise from each other, haven't we? Which is a new way of working for us eavesdroppers.
Yeah. And we have no theme.
No theme. But I wonder if we'll hit the mark. I wonder if your theme will relate to my theme. Should I tell you what my theme is? Should I start?
Yes, please. I'm excited.
All right. Well, a few episodes ago, Michelle, you brought up, in fact, it was just before Christmas, you brought it up because it was happening a lot, needle spiking.
Oh, yeah.
People getting spiked in nightclubs with drugs and then losing control of their limbs. It was being reported on social media and in the news, and even the politicians were getting up in arms about it. No one really knows why or how or what was going on, so I thought I'd look into it.
Am I going to be terrified? Because,
No.
Oh, good. Okay. Does this have a happy ending?
No. No to both of those answers.
Oh, okay.
But I'll tell you a little bit about it because I was really fascinated with, 1, if it happened at all. 2, how it happened. 3, why does it happen?
But your first point, did it happen at all? What do you mean?
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you. If you have ever been injected by anything, Michelle, you'll know that you feel it and you need to keep quite still for the person that's injecting you to gain purchase. Not victim slamming here, but a lot of people may have been confused about what actually happened, is what I believe. Let me tell you the stories. Let me get into my story, okay?
Okay.
So normally they use Rohypnol or GHB when they're drink spiking, don't they? These awful people. Think Michaela Cole's amazing TV show, I May Destroy You. That kind of thing. So people tend to use date rape drugs, don't they, in nightclubs and whatnot. And they come in a powder or a liquid form, and they have no taste or smell, and you just pop them in a drink. And then you can say to your pals, if you're a nasty person, you can say to her pals or people in the nightclub, oh yeah, we're going back to my house. This is my girlfriend. Or oh, she's had too much to drink. I'm just going to go and see that she gets into a cab or whatever. And then you go and have your wicked way with her. And it does happen.
Yeah.
There's a lot of reported, and people have been able to prove that this has happened. Date rape is a thing. But then in October last year, in 2021, there was a lot of reports of needle spiking emerging online in social media. Like I just said, countrywide protests were being organised by students, and politicians alike were getting on board with it. Priti Patel, our Home Secretary here in the UK, said it was likened to a terror incident. It was that bad. I mean, that's a high stakes comment to make.
Yeah,
isn't
but it was from Priti Patel, so I expect no less than extremes.
Yeah, and people were being urged to boycott nightclubs until they took it more seriously. And then I read some articles. This one's from Cosmopolitan. It's about a girl called Sian who was out celebrating on her 19th birthday with friends at a Nottingham nightclub. During the evening, she felt a scratch, as if someone had brushed against her back, which she assumed was someone's rucksack or a bag or something. And then she recalls leaving the club, but she had no control over her limbs and she was unable to walk. She was with her friends, and she said she felt trapped inside her body with a pain in her back that was both sharp and burning. And she thinks it must have happened about 30 minutes after feeling that scratch. But she couldn't express it or control anything, and she kept passing out. So her friends had told her later that during the evening there were 2 boys that were harassing Sian, and she remembers saying that one of them had made her feel uneasy. So her friends had pulled her away, but that is the last thing that Sian remembers. So her friends then got her into A&E in a taxi. And whilst there, the doctors told Sian, I guess she must have come around a bit more. I mean, I don't know timelines here. That they don't know how to handle the situation because it was new to them. So they just followed guidance for a drug user who had been injecting with dirty needles. So that meant Sian had to get a hepatitis vaccine 4 times to ensure she didn't get hepatitis C. And later she had to have screenings for HIV.
Oh, my God. That poor girl.
So a few weeks after the attack, Sian shared images of her back with a red pinprick at the centre. Now, there's a professor called Adam Winstock. This is from a BBC News article. He's a trained consultant psychiatrist from the Global Drugs Survey. And he told the BBC that needles have to be inserted with a level of care. And whilst you've got the patient sitting in front of you with skin exposed and no clothes on, that's usually the optimal way of injecting someone if you were trying to inject a drug into them, for example. The idea that these things can be given randomly through clothes in a nightclub just isn't very likely in that scenario. That's what he's saying. He's saying it would be difficult to keep a needle in someone's skin long enough to get all of the substance in. And normally you'd have to inject several millilitres, and that's half a teaspoon full of a drug into somebody. That hurts and people notice.
Yeah.
That's what he says. He says that alcohol is by far and away the most used drug in spiking, when people slip extra or stronger alcohol into someone's drink.
Okay.
Then there's this guy called John Slaughter, who's a senior forensic toxicologist at Analytical Services International, which is a place that provides toxicological services, including things for like forensic toxicology and things like that. So many big words, Michelle. It's really hard. John Slaughter was reported as saying, it's a great name, isn't it? He should be on Toast of Tinseltown.
Or
Ray Purchase, John Slaughter, Bon Jovi.
He's a killer. John Slaughter is a killer. That's a killer's name.
And Matt Paranormal.
Exactly.
Oh, starring in Eavesdroppin. This Slaughter man, he said that the recent cases were the first time he had ever heard reports of needles being used in spiking cases. And he agreed that while it was certainly plausible that a single attacker or a very small number of attackers could have attempted to use needles to spike victims in bars and nightclubs, it's unlikely, Michelle, that perpetrators could replicate this method on a wider scale. That is John Slaughter's thoughts. He also goes on to say, if someone is jabbed with a syringe, then their reflex action is going to be to move away within a second or two, right?
Okay.
Feel a pinprick, you're going to, oh, what's that? The opportunity for someone to actually inject enough drug from that syringe to have the effect, I would think, this is John's words, Mr. Slaughter to you, Michelle, is fairly low. I'm not saying it's absolutely impossible. I'm just saying, in my opinion, it's unlikely. We go on to say it doesn't mean that people aren't being deliberately jabbed by sharp objects on a night out.
But I do see their point because, you know, there was a time when I was having to inject B12, which is why I had that syringe in the social media posts. You have to be still. You have to know what you're doing with a syringe, and yeah, it takes time. Although, I mean, I remember seeing, I think it was Evil Dead, where they just stab somebody with a... I mean, you always see people just stabbing someone with a syringe, especially with Novocaine when you're trying to, like, bring someone back from the brink of an overdose, a drug overdose. And there is no care taken. It's just boom, bam, needle whacked in. So I think
if you're standing in a crowded bar jostling about and somebody's trying to inject you, you wouldn't be keeping still at all. It would be very, very difficult, is the point.
What I'm saying is you can inject somebody with care, or you can just go fucking whammo, bam.
Yeah, but they'll know. They'll feel that. That's like an assault. So, but the thing is, have they had too much to drink?
Yeah.
Are they confused?
Yeah.
And then the other question is, Michelle, why?
Yeah.
Why are they doing it?
Sex.
It's not for sex, because they just let them go off with their friends. None of these people have then woken up.
Have been date raped. Yeah, okay.
What?
They weren't date raped. What did I say?
I thought you said date rate.
It's possible.
I'm not sure. Around the same time as all of these reports coming out about people getting needle spikes, there was rumours also that the victims of these needle injuries had later contracted HIV. But what's the truth of it, Michelle? Is it public information or is it scaremongering? Don't forget, we had just been released from 2 years of pandemic times. And a lot of those people, they were brand new to university. They had turned 18 in the pandemic times. They hadn't been out drinking much. It's a new level of fear. And it's the unknown. I'm not trying to victim blame here. Let me just make that very clear. But I wanted to look deeper into it to find out more about it. And that took me very, very far back, Michelle, to 1788.
What?
There was something called the London Monster. And that was the name of an alleged attacker of women in London between 1788 and 1790.
I don't think this particular gruesome character has had much traction in the press, because this is the first time I've heard of him.
You've never heard of him? Okay, well, let me tell you a little bit about him, not too much. He had a signature behaviour of something called Piquerism, which is spelled Piquerism. Piquerism, not pica, like when you eat clay, but Piquerism, which means pricking or stabbing of victims with a knife, pin or needle.
Right. Ooh.
According to the victims, most of whom were on the wealthier side, it would occur after a large man had followed them in the street, shouted obscenities at them, and then stabbed them in the buttocks. That's right, buttocks. I said buttocks. Bumhole. Some acclaimed, not bumhole.
Can you imagine that?
Right
just
in the bum
straight
hole.
up the bum hole.
No.
Oh, my God.
Some claimed an attacker had knives fastened to his knees. I mean, that's almost in the realms of fantasy now, isn't it? But I have a feeling it's almost like hysteria. Other reports were that the stabber was inviting prospective victims to smell a fake nosegay, which is a small posy of flowers, I'm assuming, and then stab them in the face with a spike hiding inside. Stab! In your face. Hey, have a smell of my nosegay. All right, what is that? Oh, you've just spiked me in the nose. That's no fun, is it? Put you right off sniffing the flowers.
Oh, well, I just have this image of, do you remember Edward Scissorhands?
Yes.
I just kept thinking of Edward Penis Hands. Because
What?
I don't know, because you were just talking
You're
about,
obsessed.
like, having, razors on his hands or something. I don't know why I just got that image. But
Why
anyway.
penis? Why did you have to say penis?
I don't know, because I guess it was such a folkloric pretend porno back in the day.
Oh, there's actually something called that.
Edward Penis Hands.
Oh,
Yes.
I didn't know. I thought you were making something up.
No, it was a porno that they made of Edward Scissorhands, but he was a man with penises instead of fingers. And he was Edward Penis Hands. Why do I even know this? Why are we talking about this?
Because you spend a
I'm
lot of
so
time
sorry.
watching porn, I think. That's why. For research reasons, no?
This was an 80s phenomena.
Oh.
All the kids were talking about it.
Not this
anyway.
kid. Not this kid. Anyway, in all of the cases, the assailant would escape before police got there. Oh, mysterious man disappeared. Some women were found with their clothes cut, and others had more substantial wounds. In the 2 years that the London Monster was rife, the number of reported victims amounted to more than 50. Then, in Paris, in the year 1819, between August and December, almost 400 women and a few men reported being pricked while in a public space by a stylus, which I can only imagine is like the thing that you put on a record player. Stylus.
Yes, that's what I would imagine. Yeah. Well, I mean, which is still a needle. It's just a record needle.
Stylus. A stylus, a needle, a spiked punch, like I said before with a nosegay, or a cane fitted with a spike.
Oh, it's all very James Bond.
That was happening to a huge amount of people in Paris. The victims were mostly girls, and the attacker would draw blood by pricking their buttocks and thighs, and sometimes their breast, hands, or arms. And the story spread like wildfire and became quite outrageous and folkloric. Now, the fact that he's aiming for all those parts, Piquerism is a paraphilia? Is that the word? It's a sexual deviancy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah?
Now it's making a bit of sense. Yeah. Naughty, sexy person.
Yes, he gets his kicks from cutting and poking. In 2015... In 2015, there was known to be an injection psycho in Andhra Pradesh, that's in India. Police were searching for an unidentified syringe-wielding man who is said to have assaulted at least 9 women, and the youngest victim was only 2 years old. And I say victim, she'd been poked by, I don't know exactly what happened. So what's with the poking? What's with the paraphilia? It's also a form of sadism as well.
I guess that's sexual, isn't it?
There are serial killers who are known to have it. Have you heard of the butcher of Rostov, the Russian serial killer Andrei Chikatilo? Don't look into it, Michelle. It's scary stuff. He had issues with erectile dysfunction and went on to sexually assault, murder and mutilate at least 52 women and children between 1978 and 1990. And he apparently had this paraphilia of Piquerism. Then there was the famous serial killer Albert Fish. Have you heard any podcasts where they talk about him? Fascinating and gruesome.
No.
Well, a lot of murders. I'm not going to go into it. But he also would stick needles in his groin and abdomen in addition to all the nasty murders. And it was decided also, Michelle, that Jack the Ripper's murders were the result of Piquerism. But probably due to what he did to the bodies.
Right. Grim stuff. So it's all this Piquerism in different forms.
Exactly. Then there was a bloke called Frank Ranieri.
No
relation to Keith, I don't think so, who was arrested in June 2007 for bribing multiple young females with large sums of money in exchange for poking their buttocks with sharp objects.
Oh,
for fun.
But you know what? If you're a sex worker and you...
Would you want to be poked?
Not
with
really.
A sharp You don't know what's on the end of that. And you're kind of opening yourself up to the possibility of being injected by something. Because then, Michelle, in the 1930s, there were the white slavers known as needlemen who would reportedly inject unsuspecting young girls with morphine before abducting them into life as a sex worker.
Oh, my God.
I know.
Well, I'm also shocked that you just said poked and open yourself up to in relation to sex workers. It's like grim language here.
Soz. There's more. In 1989, 10 teenage girls were arrested and later charged with stabbing numerous women with pins in the Upper West Side area of New York City. And this was during the height of the 80s AIDS crisis. So everybody thought that they were trying to infect them with blood. The girls were all aged between the ages of 13 and 15, and they were all of African-American heritage, and they said they just did it for fun. They chose white women as targets because the girls believed they would be too intimidated to fight back or to confront them. And they said they thought it was just fun to run down Broadway and stick white women with pins to see see their faces, see their reaction. That was all it was.
I kind of get this in a way because, maybe they were just kids from... with troubled backgrounds, and they just were acting out. Like, maybe boys beat kids up, and the hysteria of the time, these girls just decided they were going to prick people.
Maybe. Who knows?
I'm not saying it's a great thing. It's kind of shit, but yeah.
There was one case, at least, that I know about, that I looked into, where someone was infected with HIV in a needle attack, and that was at Long Bay Jail in Sydney in 1990. You may have heard about this, I don't know, but there was a prison officer called Jeffrey Pierce who was attacked by an HIV-infected prisoner called Graham Farlow. And he stabbed him with a syringe full of his own blood. And it's so unlikely, Michelle, that you could be infected in this way. There's a 1 in 200 chance. Plus, Jeffrey Pierce had immediate medical attention, yet he still tested positive for the disease. And because of the times... he died of an AIDS-related illness in 1997, aged 28.
Oh, God, that is so horrific. That poor man.
I know, yeah. So attacks on strangers are rare, but they do happen. And then I found this interesting story, which isn't about pinpricks at all, but it was quite fascinating. In April 2016, a girl called Perry Roach got on a bus in the Sydney Beach suburbs. She sat down on the last window seat on the left-hand side of the bus. Directly behind her on the back seat was a man and a woman, and the woman was sitting in the man's lap, right? They're troublesome. After a few stops, there was another man got on in a suit and sat down next to Perry, and he was reading a brochure on bicycle tours in regional Australia. So the man behind Perry with the lady on his lap, then tapped the man in the suit who was sitting next to Perry on the shoulder, and he asked if he could read the bicycle brochure when he was finished with it. And the guy looked up and said, no. Then Perry heard a faint snip, shortly followed by another. And she thought nothing of this until she went to run her fingers through her long dark hair, and a large chunk of it fell into her lap.
No, my God.
She was looking at this chunk of hair and she couldn't work out where it had come from until she realized that it's been cleanly cut through. So she absolutely lost it. You can imagine. She was hyperventilating. She was going nuts. The suit man next to her glanced at her for a moment before intently looking back at his magazine. And then Perry swung round to confront the couple behind her. She said, "Did you just cut my hair?" And the man smirked and said, "No." And his girlfriend, who was sucking her thumb, was like giggling into her fist. And then poor Perry just was going nuts, crying. Then this couple jumped off the bus, but someone must have told the driver what happened. So he pulled the bus over, opened the doors, ran off after this couple. And when they noticed they were being chased by the bus driver, they just hailed a cab and escaped. But a month later, a detective called to inform Perry that this guy had eventually been arrested and was being charged with assault. And he pleaded guilty and was sentenced to counselling and community service. But getting back to needle spiking, because that's where we started, I'll finish there. A friend of mine, when I was talking to her about it last night, she said it had happened to 4 people in Ipswich clubs in late 2021, and one victim was a male. So I looked into that one as well.
Yeah.
On the BBC News website. And each time they were there with friends, or they were taken to a medical room in a club once they'd lost control of limbs, etc. So again, what was the point of this needle sticking injury if it wasn't for robbery or sexual assault?
Yeah.
There's a woman called Torun Govind, who's a pharmacist and chair of the Royal Pharmaceutical Society, and she says that if you think you have been needle stabbed, then she encourages you to immediately get it to bleed, like squeeze it, whatever, hold it underwater, wash the wound, and then try and get somewhere safe like a hospital or a pharmacy where there's a healthcare professional. Then there's a woman called Dr. Shirin Lakan, who is a cosmetic doctor, and she specializes in women's health, and she says that some needles are so thin that you don't feel them going in. And if someone's had a drink, they might be less inclined to feel the scratch of a needle. So Dr. Lakhani has also previously worked as a GP and anaesthetist, and she points out that people without medical expertise, like your dear self, Michelle, with your vitamin B injections, can learn to do it themselves, same as diabetics can. So it's very easy. You can grab a needle from anywhere. And then a GP called Dr. Veena Babu said if someone has access to needles and syringes, they can get into a club. She doesn't see why they wouldn't be able to impact or hurt somebody in that way. So she can appreciate that opinion might be split on this, but if there are women reporting it and they felt dizzy and they've collapsed and they've noticed bruise marks, then we have to respect what they're saying.
Okay. So can I ask, in your research, did you find any doctor reports where they talked about the needle area, like the area that had been spiked, and whether or not they could confirm? So there have been no confirmations.
I found a lot of very unhappy people feeling victim blamed, feeling like they were not being taken seriously, feeling like they'd stumbled in out of control, saying they'd been spiked, but actually people just thought they were drunk. And or they'd come in and they'd said, "Oh, it's too late for us to test your bloods now. It's too late, go home, forget about it." Yeah, like I said before, it was over a period of time when a lot of people who had just turned 18 during the pandemic were just out of lockdown for the first time. People were going a little bit, not crazy, but just you're having some good times, letting their hair down. But they do say that if you don't get to a doctor within 72 hours, it can't be tested. So the medics are still in the dark. They couldn't find anything to prove.
But it's interesting because just my very limited knowledge and experience with, needles, it can go one of two ways. If it's a very controlled and easy injection, the site will be absolutely perfect. You can't even see that there has been a needle inserted into the skin. You feel it, but you can't see it. If something goes a bit wrong, you have a big motherfucking bruise for days around the injection site. So if they're in a club, they're moving, I would say this is not a controlled situation, and there would be some kind of bruising or evidence of a needle injecting.
There was. You would see it. You would see it on social media, but unfortunately they weren't being taken seriously enough to look deeper into it. So therefore, there was 300 cases, Michelle, almost 300, not necessarily 300, but up to 300 cases in the UK that police have confirmed reports of women or people being jabbed, not necessarily spiked, with a needle, and that was no arrests. But they did arrest in Sussex. There was one reported that there was an arrest, and that was a 28-year-old man from Hove on suspicion of needle sticking on October 31st, 2021, and they're still awaiting the toxicology. I couldn't find any follow-ons from that, so possibly it just went away. Or
that's Halloween.
Yeah, I know. And I'm wondering if people are just sticking you with drawing pins and maybe you're spiked with a drink, or I don't know. Yeah, but no police force confirmed a case where someone has been injected with drugs intended to spike them, and no one has been charged with an offence related to needle spiking. And none of the reports had involved a secondary offence, like I said before, such as robbery or sexual assault. So, guys, relax. Obviously, be careful. But the chances of a needle attack is highly unlikely. And even if you were infected with a blood-borne disease, the progression in medicine means that treatment would be successful. So I just think take care. Obviously, it's a big, bad world out there. Keep yourself safe, but don't accept drinks from strangers. Keep your wits about you. If you're going to write yourself off, make sure you're with somebody that you trust, who will look after you.
It's a funny old business, because you don't want to believe that this is a case of mass hysteria, especially about something as serious as spiking. And equally, you don't want these women to feel unheard. Yeah. And you don't want them to feel like that something awful clearly has happened to people. Yeah. But what is it? What is the truth, really?
Is it Piquerism? Is it people just having a laugh? I mean, because obviously they're not then taking control of the situation, of their victim, if you like, and swooping in. It's just, it seems like it's just for laughs, like those teenage girls in New York City who just thought it would be fun to stick pins in people.
Yeah, gee, really fucking funny. Like, it just, I don't know. I just feel like where's the line here? Because are they being spiked? I just kind of want to believe that they are. I don't want to believe that it's just
that's terrifying.
For laughs. I don't know. I mean, it'd be better if it was just for kicks, but I don't know where I stand on this.
So let's just let it settle in, Michelle. Let that settle in, and people can write in if they like, but just understand that I am not victim blaming at all. Yeah. And just wanted to look deeper into it. And it was really interesting to hear about Piquerism. Real life. True crime. True life. Supernatural. So, Michelle, did you look into this story about Charles and Camilla, wasn't it? Love
Charles and Camilla. Well,
what a scoop.
Well, since she brought it to our attention, the story has blown up in the media.
Has it?
Yes. And there was even a segment on ITV's This Morning with your favourite Holly Willoughby and Phil Schofield. Yes. Oh. Where the man claiming to be Charles and Camilla's son phoned in an interview from his home in Brisbane. And I'm telling you, it was hysterical. He's got this crumpled Australian flag behind him, so he hasn't even ironed it. It's like it's like some rinky-dink bloody flag behind him
from a pound shop.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm telling you, this interview, it turned into absolute mayhem at the end.
No.
Yeah, but for those of you who don't know the story, I'll fill you in on the details.
I can't wait.
So, 55-year-old Simon Charles Durante-Day, that's his name.
Right.
He has apparently spent decades trying to prove that he is the abandoned child of Prince Charles and Camilla Parker Bowles. Now, he was born in England and he grew up in the seaside town of Portsmouth. Have you been there?
Portsmouth is at the other end of the A3. It's and I'm on the A3, so you just keep driving.
Right, okay.
Yeah, it's down south.
Yes, and it's meant to be gorgeous. Portsmouth is meant to be lovely, isn't it?
Okay. Well, it's kind of near the New Forest. It's nice around there. It's nice around the New Forest. I haven't been into Portsmouth. I must go.
All right. Shall we do that?
Let's do it.
All right. And so this guy, Simon, he says his adopted grandmother told him straight out Camilla was his mother back in 1988. And
how old was he when she told him that?
Well, apparently he had been told that his whole life.
Oh, he'd been told it all his life. Right,
yes.
Sorry.
But then he says that in some interviews, and then in other interviews, he says that she told him on her deathbed. So I don't know. There's a few things that don't add up.
Confession.
Yeah, a few things that don't add up here. But then, look, he's splashed all over the media his, air quotes, evidence that proves he's their son. And look, over the years, he's actually sent the royal family correspondence. You mentioned this last week.
Yeah.
That has been received by them. And he's even gone to court over the claims that he's making. But neither Charles or Camilla have ever responded to his claims. So he's now using the media to put his story across. And I have to say, at the beginning of this morning interview, I actually thought he seemed quite credible because he seemed quite calm. He seemed quite factual.
Hang on. How old is Charles?
Oh, that's a good point.
Because I was just thinking as you're talking that Harry and Willops are in their 30s, aren't they?
Yes. So let's do the time. I'm not going to be able to do the maths, but put it this way. This guy says he was conceived in 1965, and that would have made Charles 16 or 17.
Oh, for God's sake. He hadn't even met Camilla at that point, probably.
Well, I'm going to get on to all of that.
Okay, Michelle, our intrepid reporter, Michelle Margarita.
I've done my investigations. Here we go. So, according to Simon, he was born on April 5, 1966.
Right.
In Gosport, Portsmouth, in the UK. And when he was 8 months old, he was adopted by Karen and David Day. And again, according to Simon, his adoptive grandparents, Ernest and Winifred, great name, but no one's called Winnie anymore. I love that name. I think it's lovely. Winifred Bolden worked for the Queen and Prince Philip in one of the royal households in 1965. Now, he has never said which royal household, so it's just a floating royal household.
So it could be Princess Michael of Kent's royal household.
Who bloody knows? But anyway.
Some B-list.
Could be. Could not. It might not even be one of the A-list. It might be the one in Scotland, although unlikely. But anyway.
The one in Scotland?
Isn't there one in Scotland? Don't they
and you just said, I like him.
No, I said unlikely.
Oh.
And I like him.
I like him.
Unlikely.
Where's Ben Mendelsohn, by the way?
Ben, where are you, Ben?
Where are you, Ben?
He hasn't been in touch, well, ever. But
ever?
I miss him. I miss
you, Ben.
I miss you, Ben, too. What made you think of Ben just
face.
right now? Oh,
I think, was he played a royal.
Oh, he did. Yes, he did.
He played the Queen's dad, didn't he?
Yes.
And the King's speech.
King.
What's wrong with my speech? In the King's speech, yes.
And actually, Geordie, for anyone who hasn't seen this, go to our YouTube channel because didn't you do a voiceover, a Ben Mendelsohn voiceover?
No, you did.
What did I do to the King's speech?
You did.
No, I did. I did a voiceover.
No, I did the King's speech, yes.
You did that one and
That's right.
I did him in that one where he's a gangster and he kills somebody.
Mine was used to better watch out. We don't like Hendersons around here.
Oh, we do miss you, Ben. Anyway,
go.
So back to Simon Durante-Day. So Ernest and Winifred. So he was apparently a gardener. Grandmother was a cook, or at least that's what he was told for the royal household, right? And when Simon was born, he thinks that his grandparents were sort of entrusted by the royals to look after him because it would have been too much of a royal scandal for Charles and Camilla to have had a baby conceived out of wedlock. Oh,
I'm so
please
sorry.
pay attention, Geordie.
I am so sorry. Who adopted him?
Karen and David Day, right, were his
Yeah.
parents. The grandparents were Ernest and Winifred Bowden. They worked for the Queen as a gardener and a cook. The Queen gave Simon to the grandparents, who gave the baby to Karen and David.
To their children.
Yes, to look
Okay.
after.
Okay.
Got that?
Yes.
No, you don't. I can see your face. You look confused.
No, okay, I get it now. So he's saying that he was adopted in Portsmouth, that he was given to the grandparents initially. That's what he thinks. And then the grandparents who worked for the Queen. So
Yes.
he's saying that the Queen gave the baby to the grandparents, and the grandparents then said, well, we're too old to look after this baby. Here you go, kids. Have a baby on us.
Yes.
He's a royal.
Yes.
Look after him.
Yeah, wondering who his bloody parents are.
Yeah.
So basically, like I said before, he reckons his grandmother has told him loads of times that he was the son of Charles and Camilla.
Really?
And the thing is, he really, really believes it. And, you know, he also says that his grandfather, Ernest, received an Imperial Service Award. And it was so funny. On This Morning, Philip is trying to be all like hot-ass journalist. And he's there saying to him, so your grandfather received this Imperial Service Award, but it's not listed in any of the records. Can't find that one. And poor old Simon, he's there and he's like, okay. And to be honest, if the This Morning research crew can spend 5 minutes and find no evidence of this Imperial Service record, this guy who's been investigating his lineage for decades surely knows that his grandfather didn't get this award. But anyway, so that was a bit of like loss of credibility, number one, for me.
Right.
And then he goes on.
Philip Schofield could undermine him.
Exactly. And then he goes on to tell this story of Camilla and a man in a naval uniform visiting him when he was 6 years old in Portsmouth. And he overheard his adopted mother and grandmother talking about how the visits, they've got to stop because he's going to remember them. And then he claims to have been taken to a house where Camilla and Charles were waiting for him. And he remembers a grandfather clock and playing with toys. And the man saying, well, we're buggered now. And that's how he says it. We're buggered now. And I thought, can you actually imagine Charles saying that? Because...
we're buggered now.
And doesn't buggered actually mean something different?
Up the arse. Camilla, where's that tampon?
Oh, my God.
Where did you put it? Sorry. I'm going to get in trouble.
So I just thought, and the way, honestly, I really can't do it, but we're buggered now. He was so strange in the way he said it. And I just thought, Charles is never saying, we're buggered. Buggered up the arse, Camilla. So I don't know how much credence I give that memory. This guy Simon then talks about this weird episode, and it's all about eye colour changing. So he says he was born with blue eyes, but the royal family was so intent on keeping his identity a secret and not having him recognised by anyone in the public that they forcibly changed his eye colour from blue to brown when he was 8 years old.
What?
Yes.
That's insane.
I know.
How?
Well, he says he was forcibly held down and an optometrist did something weird to his eyes, injected his iris with something.
Oh, my God.
He also says a dentist filed down his teeth so he didn't have pointed little incisors like Queen Elizabeth. And he said this on This Morning, and he was like, it's because of the gossip around Portsmouth at the time. I don't think they had any choice but to do that.
Oh, my goodness. This guy's a fantasist.
And he remembers being in pain for 3 months and walking around in the shadows. And because of that, he now has vision problems. And then Philip Schofield interjects saying, that's an extraordinary claim that, that the royals, when you were 8 years old, tampered with your eye colour, the colour of your iris. And then Phil's like, oh, well, Holly has blue eyes and she doesn't have any claims to royalty. So, you know, do you know what I it's just insane.
What did Holly say?
And Holly's looking at him going, thinking, what the fuck?
Phil.
But it's just, honestly, it all goes a bit left.
Jesus. Left of centre.
Left of centre. But he's been quite passive-aggressive, actually, with this guy.
Who? Philip?
He's being passive-aggressive with Simon. But Simon's taking it all very well, being very calm. And then Phil goes on to say, listen, we've spoken to a very prestigious eye doctor at Moorfields Eye Hospital, and they don't know of any procedure that can change your eye colour.
Right.
But he says, we're not saying it can't be done. But, you know, in early 1973, 74, when you're claiming this happened, you know, it's a little iffy. So, yeah, I think that's like another credibility dip right there.
Yes, I think so. Did they address the age discrepancy?
Well, I'm coming to that because then...
Oh, can't wait.
Yeah, it moves on to, the claim that he was conceived in 1965.
I need to watch This Morning more often with Phil and Holly.
I don't think you do, but I'll put a link to this.
Sounds like a lot of fun.
Well, it just descended into mayhem, but... but at this point in the interview, he goes on to say he was conceived in 1965. And look, I did some duck going of my own, and Simon reckons in another interview that his own research has shown him that Charles and Camilla had a little, you know, something in 1965. And then he says months later, in the lead up to his birth, Camilla disappeared from the social scene for 9 months and Charles was sent to Australia. And he says that's because of the pregnancy. But I can't find any evidence of this online. And I can't back it up. And, you know, I'm not friends with anyone who knows any royals. So it's not like I can ask anyone. But who knows? Maybe not. That's something that maybe will come out in the wash if it's true. But Philip Schofield, and look, he's trying to be polite at this point, but he's kind of aggressive. He points out that the royal commentators, like you say, that Charles and Camilla didn't meet until 1970 at a polo match. And that's been quite widely reported for a long time. But then... that is also a little bit disputed, but I'll get onto that in a minute. Because then Holly goes on to address all of these bizarre pictures that are flying around the internet right now that Simon has put out, comparing himself to all the royals.
Okay.
So
this is not a drill. You can get the new iPhone 16e with Apple Intelligence for just $49.99 when you switch to Boost Mobile.
Wait, that's the actual fire alarm. We need to go.
Visit your nearest Boost Mobile store for full offer details. Apple Intelligence requires iOS 18.1 or later. Restrictions apply.
El rugido de los aficionados, el ritmo de las porras, la intensidad en la cancha. Esto es más que solo un partido de fútbol. Con DraftKings Sportsbook, esta es tu oportunidad de convertir cada jugada en una gran ganancia. Descarga la app de DraftKings Sportsbook y usa el código HEART. Ese es el código HEART para que los nuevos usuarios reciban $200 en bonus bets al instante cuando apuestes solo $5. En asociación con DraftKings, la corona es tuya. ¿Problemas con el juego? Llama al 1-800-GAMBLER. En Nueva York, llama al 877-8-HOPE-NY o envía un mensaje de texto con la palabra HOPE-NY al 467-369. En Connecticut, hay ayuda disponible para problemas con el juego. Llama al 888-789-7777 o visita ccpg.org. Juega responsablemente. En nombre de Boot Hill Casino and Resort, Kansas. Debe ser mayor de 21 años. La elegibilidad varía según la jurisdicción. No válido en Ontario. Pueden aplicarse cargos en Illinois. Las apuestas de bonos son de un solo uso. La apuesta no se incluye en las ganancias y caducan después de ser otorgadas. La oferta finaliza el 29 de septiembre 2025 a las 11:59 p.m. hora del este. Los términos en DraftKings.com/sportsbook/promos.
So basically, there's a picture of his grandson. Okay, and he's married to maybe like an islander or a Fijian lady.
Okay.
So he's got this picture of his grandson in a pose like this, and similar to the Queen, and he's like, it's a spitting image. It's bloody not. It's
Not
like
at all.
such a stretch. And then there's another one where he's obviously gone onto like FaceApp or something, and he's cut half of his granddaughter's face and merged it with the face of Princess Charlotte, who is the daughter of Kate and Wills.
Yeah.
And honestly, like, it's just weird. And he's like, look at this. The proof's undeniable. It's like, no, I'm denying it. So it's crazy. And then there was another one of him looking like William, but he doesn't.
Yeah.
And he doesn't look like Charles. Actually, but when you see pictures of him when he was young, he does look a little bit like Harry and Camilla mixed together. But anyway, that was, I guess that could have been before or after he had his pointy little teeth filed out. I don't know. But I'll put these pictures in the show notes and people can see what they think. But I'm not convinced. And Phil's there going, it's a stretch. It's a stretch, mate. But anyway, he goes on to say that he's instigated this official government inquiry into his parentage because basically what he wants is for Charles and Camilla to take a DNA test to prove one way or another. And the thing is, like, they're not going to do it.
They're not going to.
Why the fuck would they ever take a DNA test? But what he's trying to get is the courts to demand it.
Wow.
That's what he wants. So that's what all his court cases have been about, finding out what his legal standing is and what his rights are to demand a DNA test from the two of them.
What do you think, Michelle? Is he a fantasist?
Yeah, I do. But he says, I believe there's enough evidence for the courts to compel a DNA test. So, you know, I don't think there is because he's putting these dodgy photos, these Photoshop photos as evidence, and it's so not. But anyway.
Someone's been in lockdown a little bit too long.
Yeah, but this has been going on for decades.
Oh, has it? Okay.
Yeah, he's been trying to get this for a long time. So, and he says, and these are his words, my family's been through enough. I've been through enough. As I've always said, I am simply a man who spent decades looking for my biological parents, and every road has led me to Charles and Camilla. I want to have a relationship with them, with William and Harry, but most of all, I want answers for my family. We are owed that.
You know what? I now feel very sorry for him. I feel sad because, you know, I'm adopted and I know how that feels when you don't know where
you come from.
I mean, exactly. And it can lead to fantasizing about your origins. You can think, you know, the very, very worst things. You can think the very, very best things. What if? Wouldn't it be great if Billy Idol was my dad or whatever, you know? But it's probably more likely to be Angus Young. But hey, let's find out. And if you can't find out, then it's frustrating. And then it leads to maybe a little bit of, you know, not psychosis,
tweaked
but
brain.
Yeah. And then you start to believe, you might start to invent your own history, and then you might start to believe it. But I personally don't think that this has got any ground. I wish that he could instead go to Adoption Triangle or the government and do his own searches, because it's very, very easy to do that.
Well, I'm sure he probably has, but he's basically saying that it's all been covered up. So I did other research which found that the place where he's saying he was born, the hospital, they never recorded a single birth in the decade that he was born. And
That's
that
queer.
there are apparently fictitious names on his real birth certificate. So he's coming up against a lot of dead ends.
Wow.
And, you know, and like you say, I mean, on one hand, I feel for him because he clearly just wants to know who he is and where he's come from. And honestly, like when I need a bit of shit TV or I just need a good cry, I go into ITV and there's some terrible, like, Who Do You Think You Are show or whatever with what's her name with the dark hair who used to host Big Brother, Davina, and she's got all these people and she brings them together, she finds everything, and I'm always in tears and in bits at the end of those programs. Me too. Yeah, I'm always crying. They're so emotional, but so I do understand that people feel really distraught at not knowing. It really does take a toll, I think.
It does. And imagine, Michelle, not knowing, like not only, so you don't not knowing, but what would be even worse would be if you thought that you were one thing, you thought you knew your family history and where you came from, but then only to find out later on that you didn't.
Yeah, well, theme. Who's the daddy? There you go.
Who's the daddy?
Who's the daddy? But this poor guy, I mean, he's on this show, and Phil's there just like being quite mean to him, to be honest. And he's saying,
Phil, you bastard.
And he's saying, like, oh, your court case is kicked out, and then Holly and Phil bring out the big guns. They get Robert Jobson, who is the royal biographer, on to talk with Simon live.
Wow. Oh
and this is when it turns into a shit show. But he just basically shoots down every claim. So he's like, yeah, this guy obviously really believes it, but it's a story. It's a story. It's not real. And he's like, the dates don't add up. And even though it was apparently, well, like we talked about, widely reported that Charles and Camilla met at a polo match, he says they actually met at Camilla's friend Lucia's flat a little earlier than 1970, but definitely not 1965. And he goes on to say, Charles was 16 at the time that Simon was meant to be conceived, and he thinks, the worst he was doing was probably, sneaking a swig of his father's rum or something. So, he was never a bad boy. And he says over the years, loads of people have written in to the palace saying, I am the illegitimate child of this royal or that royal. So, they get this a lot. And he said all these dark secrets about having eye colour changed and the teeth filed down at 15. It sounds like a James Bond movie. It doesn't sound real. And then this guy loses his shit. Simon starts yelling, and then Robert Jobson starts yelling, and then Simon's yelling, and Holly's there, and then the wife,
Holly's crying,
and then Simon's wife starts chiming in, going, can't even hear what she's saying, but she's saying something like, just believe it,
fucking dickheads. Just believe it, you fucking dickheads. You pommy. See you next Tuesday.
Oh, man.
Oh, my goodness.
It is just chaos. And, and then it just cuts dead. Like, the interview just cuts dead. So,
it went wrong.
Yeah, so it was all just chaos. But, when I was doing more duck going for this, I just, I found a few things that, he reckons that Camilla kept him until he was 8 months old, and the royals used their bodyguards to cover up the baby and all this kind of stuff. And there's a lot. And
poor guy.
Yeah. And I do feel for him. And he says that his middle name is Charles, and that his adoptive mother told him that it was a condition of the adoption that he keeps the name Simon Charles, because apparently Charles and Camilla had a close friend called Simon at the time. But obviously, again, I can't verify that.
Yeah.
But what I did find was an article about Milla Shand. That's what she was known when she was a kid. Everyone called her Milla. They called Camilla Milla Shand, as she was known back in the day. And it was all about the night she apparently lost her virginity, right?
What?
So there's this Daily Mail article with a picture of her at 17. And do you know what? She was fucking gorgeous. And everyone, slags her off and says she was no beauty. But actually, she was stunning. There are these pictures of her when she was younger, and she just looked really just beautiful, Mm-hmm. And weirdly, this article was about when she was 17. So 1965, because she's a year older than Charles, right? And it was on the night of her coming out into society. And she's in this beautiful black chiffon dress, which actually is quite badly sewn.
Black.
But it's, black. And she just looks really young and pretty. And this whole article goes on to say that she sort of was a bit of a bad girl at school who just wanted to have fun. And she was the girl, she was the cool girl at school. She was the one on the roof sneaking ciggies at the private girls' school. She was interested in boys, and she was basically just shagging around. And that's why the royals did not want her for Charles.
Her to marry Charles.
Because she wasn't a virgin, and therefore she was not fit to be Charles's wife.
Oh, God.
So, and this is my own personal theory, maybe what happened was Camilla maybe did get knocked up, but it wasn't Charles who was the baby daddy. No. Maybe Simon Durante-Day just is the child of Camilla, but not Charles. And maybe Charles used his connections to help her, or maybe, I mean, look, you know, Camilla has her own links to high society. So maybe all of this stuff, it has nothing to do with the royal family. Maybe Camilla is involved somehow. I don't know. But
good theory.
Yeah. But, you know, look, no, like we said before, no member of the royal family is ever going to take a DNA test because, you know, the public have been calling for that for years with Harry, and because they all think he's the son of the other one, the redhead James Hewitt. And the thing is, if they've kept this secret this long, they're going to keep on keeping that secret. So there you go. There's my theory.
Amazing, Michelle. That is a really good story.
Now that's a sweet ride.
Juice dropper.
Now that's a sweet ride.
Juice dropper.
I'm confused.
Don't drop your juice. Juice dropper. So anyway, Michelle, listen, it's time to wrap it up.
All those pricks.
So all that we can say now is just please, wherever you are,
whatever you do,
just keep eavesdropping. 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 Dropping. Eavesdropping. Dropping. Eavesdropping. Eavesdropping.
Dropping. Dropping.
Eavesdropping. Eavesdropping all day long. Eavesdropping, this is the song. Drop it like it's hot.
This back to school, hear your teen say something you never thought possible.
Thanks, Ma.
Come to your Boost store and take home iPhone 15 with its amazing camera and all-day battery for only $99.99. Perfect for back to school.
Thanks, Ma.
You won't get tired of hearing it. Visit your nearest Boost store. Requires ID verification, port in and activation on $60 per month plan and $35 device setup fee. Taxes extra.
El rugido de los aficionados, el ritmo de las porras, la intensidad en la cancha. Esto es más que solo un partido de fútbol. Con DraftKings Sportsbook, esta es tu oportunidad de convertir cada jugada en una gran ganancia. Descarga la app de DraftKings Sportsbook y usa el código HEART. Ese es el código HEART para que los nuevos usuarios reciban $200 en bonus bets al instante cuando apuestes solo $5. En asociación con DraftKings, la corona es tuya. ¿Problemas con el juego? Llama al 1-800-GAMBLER. En Nueva York, llama al 877-8-HOPE-NY o envía un mensaje de texto con la palabra HOPE-NY al 467-369. En Connecticut, hay ayuda disponible para problemas con el juego. Llama al 888-789-7777 o visita ccpg.org. Juega responsablemente. En nombre de Boot Hill Casino and Resort, Kansas. Debe ser mayor de 21 años. La elegibilidad varía según la jurisdicción. No válido en Ontario. Pueden aplicarse cargos en Illinois. Las apuestas de bonos son de un solo uso. La apuesta no se incluye en las ganancias y caducan después de ser otorgadas. La oferta finaliza el 29 de septiembre 2025 a las 11:59 p.m. hora del este. Los términos en DraftKings.com/sportsbook/promos.